Squisser Microsoft, Squisser Oracles, Squisser Colianachus, Squisser Kiniachus, Cordelas, Usakazaboresha, Nimmer can stop, Nimmer can stop, Nimmer can stop, Nimmer can stop, my ink in several like poker buck.
All the bad shit that Britain and its colonies did around the world, they kind of practiced on Ireland first.
They tried to get rid of all Irish speaking, and it was all English for a couple of hundred years.
Some of my very earliest memories are intense shame because we were speaking Irish at home.
That is the cause of language death all over the world.
But I mean, the real credit for the Irish language revival goes to these families who refused to break that chain in the first place, who kept the language alive, for us in particular, because we're from the north.
In the north of Ireland, what you had was quite a high concentration of Protestant people, so you had sectarianism. So if you were an Irish Catholic, which meant that you were effectively an indigenous Irish person, you couldn't access education, you couldn't vote, you couldn't own land over a certain size, you couldn't speak the Irish language.
British people thought it was like a sense of identity, kind of, and that if people were speaking a lot of Irish, playing Irish sports, Irish traditional music, they'd want their own country back.
It was genocide. They didn't want us to just become like them. It's like, we want you to die and disappear so you can be replaced.
The real credit should go to all the families in the west of Ireland that didn't break the chain. But if you're going to gas us up, we'll take it every now and again.
Kneecap.
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 Kneecap. Kneecap.
Kneecap. I'm so proud of them, I really am.
I know there's a bit of controversy at the moment, but I think they're great. Hi,
it's Misha Cara, August Hosmeg, Fulham Gaelic, Margallo Kneecap. It's something that I value a lot, to have something in common with people like them. It's such a nice feeling.
Which parts of Ireland currently have the highest concentration of native first language Irish speakers?
Oh God, I'd say it'd be the Gaeltacht.
The Gaeltacht area is there are small pockets around Ireland where the day-to-day language is still the indigenous native language of Ireland, which is Gaeilge.
In these Gaeltacht areas, the language isn't only kept alive in the home, it's also taught as a primary language in Gael schools, where Irish is learned through a process of full immersion.
How would I say, hey, my name's Andrew?
Kurisitatu Tomo Anum Andrew.
Kurisitatu Anum Andrew?
Yeah, Tashin. Yeah, I suppose.
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
My teachers and my classmates are really helpful when I can't really understand it that well. They help me a lot.
I think it was in the 90s, there was a huge increase in the amount of Gael Scoilna that were created in the country and that were opened and established, and since then it has increased year on year.
I suppose the beauty of it is that they're not afraid to make mistakes.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think that's the main thing. I think people get quite intimidated in any language, but especially in Irish, because there's such a small amount of us, that when people try to learn the language, they kind of feel like that other people will be judging them.
And there's more stuff happening now than there ever was before. Go to a pop-up Gaeltacht, go to a Gaeltacht, have a pint, use whatever few words of Irish you have. You'd be surprised how much you know and how quickly it all come back to you. Bí bródú las de chuid Gaeilge.
It's for your country.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Endangered Language series here at Channel 5, a 10-part series that'll explore the frontiers of linguistic revival across the planet. Hope you guys enjoy.
Underneath all the thunder and there's magic, and if there's a better way to live, I gotta have it. Because I think all day, but when I drink I'm okay. Gets further away every time I try grab it. Underneath all the chatter in this heaven, got a little peak one day, made me feel like I was 7. I know it exists, but I can't stop getting pissed. One more thing I'll be added to the list.
Wait, one sec. Before we proceed, I have some fantastic news to share with our stateside supporters. We are going on tour in less than 2 weeks to meet fans, screen secret, never-before-seen, uncensored documentaries for a live, phoneless audience, including the debut comeback episodes for the relaunch of All Gas No Breaks, and more. Additionally, to spice the night up, myself, along with some very special comedian and celebrity guests, will be hosting and judging locally sourced rap battles and crowdsourced talent shows in every single city that we go to, so it's gonna be a movie for real. If you're a professional rap battler or somebody who wants to be in the talent show, if you do hula hooping, breakdancing, more freestyling, backflip, whatever the hell you do, email me at andrew@channel5.news to get things sorted. If you live in New York City, Toronto, Montreal, Durham, New Orleans, Orlando, Richmond, Boston, Detroit, Motown, Madison, St. Paul, Salt Lake City, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philly, Seattle, Tacoma, LA, SF, Portland, Austin, Dallas, Denver, Vancouver, BC, Atlanta, El Paso, Phoenix, San Diego, or Albuquerque, New Mexico. Go get your tickets to the Channel 5 Carnival right now at www.channel5.news. Again, that's www.channel5.news, where if you navigate there, you'll see a page titled All Gas No Brakes XC5 Carnival, containing links to all sales. I heard these tickets are flying off the shelf like hotcakes right now, so if you are interested, buy a ticket, it'd mean a lot. I'm also gonna put the link in the pinned comment, bio, or description box of this video. Again, that's www.channel5.news. All right, back to the documentary and the streets of Ireland.
My name is Andrew Callahan, and I know nothing about my own ancestry aside from the fact that my great-great-grandfather, Jeremiah Callahan, immigrated from Ireland to West Philadelphia in the early 1900s. Like millions of others who fled Europe at that time, Jeremiah wanted a better life for his family and descendants, which happened. Thank you, double-great-granddad. Wish we could have met. Unfortunately, though, I was about 30 years too late. By the time I came into the world in the April of 1997, Jeremiah was long gone, but his son, Cornelius Callahan, was in the room less than an hour later. Cornelius was my great-grandfather, who I called Pop. Sadly, Pop passed when I was 3, but if heaven is real, he's probably looking down right now with total bewilderment at the fact that that little baby is now 28 on something called a plane headed back to the old country to see where his dad grew up. I'm doing this for a few reasons. Firstly, I've always grown up with a yearning to understand where our family came from. Bearing an Irish name and celebrating some Irish holidays, I always knew we had some sort of ancestral connection, but nobody was there to explain it. That's a common immigrant story, especially for European immigrants in the early 1900s, whose primary goal was assimilation into the white American majority. They wanted to be normal as fast as possible, and from what it seems, Jeremiah chose to not really pass down much information about Irish history, food, culture, and of course, information about the conditions that caused his departure. After all, why would he? Jeremiah wanted a new life. And also, anti-Irish discrimination was a big thing on the East Coast back then.
Job-stealing drunk cretins.
Anyways, all these complex thoughts, feelings, and new questions brought me to a very familiar place for white people, which is spitting into a tube after ordering a genealogy test online in the hopes that a DNA broker can tell me what specific kind of European I am. And the results were shocking. I learned that I was even more Irish than I previously thought, 92.5% in fact. So back in 2023, which is when I took the test, I began covering Irish events in an attempt to learn more about my people.
Irish guy at an Irish festival doing Irish things.
I'm 100% Irish! Crossing the Rainbow Bridge tonight!
Conor McGregor, come on now! Conor McGregor, but he's a dick. Tell him I said that.
Fuck Mark Wahlberg!
Wait, isn't he a raging racist?
Take off your pants, take off your underwear, and wear the kilt properly. Now.
Is this on YouTube? Fuck YouTube!
Although these events were somewhat fun, emphasis on somewhat, they virtually taught me nothing about Ireland and only led me to more questions about Jeremiah Callahan and the way that things were. So I went down to shore to talk with my pop-up, Jeremiah's grandson, and then met up with Uncle Bobby in Havertown, PA. From a Callahan perspective, Uncle Bobby is kind of seen as the de facto family historian with an extensive catalog of ancient documents and lore. He's also a realtor if you're looking for a home around Westchester Pike.
Good day, everybody. Bobby Rogers here, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Listen, I'm over here in Broomall at Little Tots Academy, enjoying a night out with the family here in Media, PA.
But first, meet Pop-Up.
My name is David Callahan. I'm Andrew's grandfather, a.k.a. Pop-Up.
What can you tell us about our family?
Well, the Irish side both came over from Ireland, settled in West Philadelphia. And they came over here with nothing, had a handful of children, raised them all. They all went to school, they all worked, they all got married. And so, and I got along well with all my cousins, so that was great.
So your dad is Cornelius Callahan. What was your grandpa's name?
Jeremiah.
And there he is, Jeremiah.
He smoked a pipe, occasional cigar, but mostly a pipe. Talk with a heavy Irish brogue. But, was the patriarchal family, that's for sure. When he spoke, it happened.
My name's Bobby Rogers. I am Andrew's second cousin.
Yes, I do help buyers and all find their forever homes. I do help investors find their homes. Bobby Rogers here, your local friendly neighborhood realtor.
So, going back to the very beginning, so Jeremiah came from Ireland.
Jeremiah came from Ireland.
Do you know where in Ireland he came from?
Cork. I don't know the town, but it's the southern region of Ireland.
Cork.
Yeah. A lot of our family, which was told to me years ago, came over here, fled because a lot of them were lost in the potato wars. The way that I understand is that they moved to West Philadelphia Pop Callahan bought their house, this one 52nd and Styles.
After talking to Bobby, I made my way to Styles Street in West Philadelphia, where I reached a literal and figurative dead end. I made some good friends, but there were no Irish vibes to be found anywhere. According to some older folks in the neighborhood, all the white people fled in the 1960s to escape the blacks. Bummer, there was no trace of Jeremiah or his vibes anywhere. Now couple that with the lack of any notable information that I was able to gather at the Irish events. Between those two disappointing and underwhelming shoots, I decided to drop the project for good and simply move on. But then, slowly but surely, Ireland and Irish people became cool again. I'm not quite sure how and when it happened. Not saying they weren't cool before, but after Cillian Murphy was caught mean-mugging Prince Harry in 4K, the Great Awakening began. And then, boom! All of a sudden, a rap trio called Kneecap goes #1, rocking IRA ski masks, Palestine flags, and spitting a sizable portion of their bars in a language that most people didn't even know existed. I learned the language was called Irish, or Gaelic, a tongue spoken by less than 72,000 people who fought tooth and nail to resist cultural erosion at the hands of our common enemy. I had so many questions. Could it be that these three lads could revive Jeremiah's swag? Is it possible to link with these dudes? Are there any Callahans left in the old country? Should I get a plane ticket? Before I could even respond to myself in the mirror, which is what I do when I have questions, I was already on a plane to the old country with a heart full of adventure.
All right, guys, we made it. County Cork, I'm home. Andrew Callahan has returned to his spiritual ancestral homeland to reclaim a couple of things. It feels crazy. I'm kind of like these plants here because I'm really from the soil. My whole life I've been existing in a hellish settler colony called the United States. White Claw!
Freedom is not free.
I didn't realize that 92% of me actually grew from this pasture, like the earthworms and the green leaves. Andrew Callahan is home in the ancestral Callahan lands.
As I sat and waited for a response from any of the genetic matches I discovered on my 20 profile, I figured I'd hit the streets of Mallow, birthplace of Jeremiah, to see if I could find any Callahans lurking in the wild. You know anybody with the last name Callahan?
No.
You know anybody with the last name Callahan around here?
Not sure.
Okay.
I don't.
You know anybody with the last name Callahan around here?
Callahan?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which way they are?
No idea which way they are right now.
Okay, cool. What's your PIN number? You know anybody with the last name Callahan around here?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that now. I'm not from Mallow myself, so no.
But is it a pretty common name in this area?
It would be in the Cork region, yeah, it would be.
How many people would I have to ask, you think, until I find one?
Quite a few, maybe.
Okay.
Keep asking.
We have to ask every single person if we're going to find one. You know anybody with the last name Callahan?
Who?
Callahan?
Callahan, yeah. There's loads of Callahans around, but I don't know where they are. Probably all inside the pub getting langers.
My former boss, Dennis Callahan, he died. He's dead now.
While I wasn't having much luck actually finding a Callahan, I did find a bit of Callahan lore.
Oh, Callahan, oh yes, it's famous name of Callahan here in North Cork. There's a Drumneen Castle where the O'Callahans came from.
That's right, the Callahans had a castle.
You guys probably can't see this, but over yonder, past that cow pasture, is the Callahan Castle.
To learn a bit more about the Callahan Kingdom, which apparently thrived in the 1500s, I went to visit the best-selling author, podcast host, and impromptu Irish historian, Blind Boy.
That'd be the real O'Callahan shit. So you had a strange thing in Ireland, right, where you had these things called petty kingdoms, multiple little kingdoms, tiny little kingdoms. But the story is, there was a dude called Callahan, and Callahan was a king. Callahan means a bright head. So he either had really blonde hair or was mad smart, and we don't know. So Callahan was feuding with the Vikings of Limerick. Callahan was feuding with them, and he was feuding with Irish kings up in Leinster, up in Dublin. The Vikings and the Leinstermen, they kidnapped Callahan. And what they also did is they ritualistically tortured him and humiliated him. But then while he was kidnapped, because he was so important, it united all the small kingdoms of Munster, and they came together to go and rescue Callahan. So they rescued him. And when they rescued him from the Vikings and Dublin people and took him back, then he had his revenge. And he defeated the Vikings of Limerick and he defeated the people in Dublin to legitimise kingship.
I could hardly believe it. Royalty. Little old me. Wow. At that point, I had to lay eyes on the castle. And after some words of directional wisdom from our friend in Mallow...
It's on the River Blackwater, Drumneen Castle. That's where they had the O'Callahans. So they have a stronghold there, actually.
We started off down the narrow, flora-covered Irish path toward the Callahan Kingdom, where unfortunately, I ran into our first literal roadblock. A gate, coupled with a herd of angry cows. and a sign. Unfortunately, it's now owned by the Irish Sugar Plantation, so I can't access it. It seemed impassable, but then I recalled some advice from earlier in the day.
Get a drone maybe, you know, fly around.
So that's what I did, and finally I was able to lay eyes on what remained of our castle. Yes, oh what a feeling. But this feeling of bliss was short-lived.
Your people's ancestral lands, the Callahan people, when Cromwell came in, your people would have just had titles stripped, nothing. You're not royal anymore, you mean nothing. You're peasants now, and the land that was yours is gone. But your people would have gone from royalty to peasants.
While this was a slight blow to my ancestral ego, the mission was right back in motion, because we finally paired with a genetic match who wanted to meet us a few minutes down the road at any respectable Callahan's favorite establishment. A pub, specifically Connolly's of Lepp in West Cork, owned by our buddy Sam, who helped us put this all together. Shout out to Sam and Peter. Cork boys up. Happy days.
Dude.
How are you?
No way, man. Look at us.
I know, we're like twins.
First of all, for those who don't know, can you just tell us what your name is?
My name is Andrew Callahan.
Which means?
We're related somehow, I suppose.
That's exactly what it means. What do most Callahans out here in Ireland do for fun?
Go to the pub. I go to the pub most weekends to do for fun, really.
What are some of your interests?
Music's big interest of mine. Music, sport. I like to go socialize with my friends.
Nice. I used to be a rapper, and I was also the MVP in 2007 of the Fairmount Philadelphia Little League Baseball World Series.
Oh, cool.
And I also like hanging out with my friends.
Oh, well, so we're pretty much like twins.
Top food. 3, 2, 1. Pizza.
No way.
Typical Andrew Callahan shit. So I guess, what's it been like, you know, living your whole life as Andrew O'Callahan instead of, you know, Andrew Callahan?
I like the O. Yeah, it kind of defined us from the rest of them.
You think I should put the O back on my name, or should I just live my
You
life?
should definitely put the O back in your name.
Because O means of Callahan.
Yeah.
And he was a fucking king.
Oh yeah, well, that's new to me. You told me that, so.
You didn't know that our ancestors were kings?
No, I did not. I have the family crest at home and a plaque. There's like a wolf on it, I think. I can't really remember now.
What's been going on since my great-great-grandfather left in 1920?
I never really looked into it. I never thought about that far back, you know? Kind of more of a living in the moment kind of a person rather than looking too much of the past.
What did you grow up learning about our family history?
I didn't learn that much about our family history, really. I'm from a big family anyway, like 10 uncles on my father's side, so it's enough just to know all of them and all my cousins. So yeah, I don't actually know that much about our family history.
So when I started digging into my family history for this trip, I wasn't just finding old records. I was also finding out how much of my life, my name, my address, and my relatives are just out there. All that info gets scooped up by data brokers who quietly collect and sell your personal info like property on the black market. These companies don't just know what ads to show you, they know where you've lived, who you're related to, and how to stitch your life together from public and semi-public records. That's why I use Incogni. Incogni helps wipe your personal data from the internet by going directly to data broker sites and forcing them to delete it automatically. You just sign up once and then Incogni sends official removal requests on your behalf. And when companies try to drag their feet, act dumb, and hold on to your info, Incogni fights back. For me, that meant dozens of data brokers stripped clean like a catalytic converter on a Prius. Fewer scam attempts, less junk, less of my life floating around places it doesn't belong. Just look at how many removal requests Incogni has made for me. That's weeks of time they save me, not having to chase down removal forms on sketchy websites. And Incogni just rolled out a new feature called custom removals. You know those sketchy people search sites that list your old addresses, your relatives' names, and info you never agreed to even share? With Incogni's unlimited and family unlimited plans, you can point at any one of those listings and say, hey, remove this, Incogni. They take care of the rest. They can't harm you if they can't find you, bro. On God. Just go to incogni.com/channel5 and use code channel5 for 60% off. That's incogni.com/channel5, promo code channel5, or just click the link below. If you care about preserving culture, memory, and identity, it's probably worth protecting your own too. While it was great to catch up with a long-lost relative, to the family,
to the Callahans,
it was clear that Andrew O'Callahan, while chill as hell, didn't really have the answers I was looking for. But I mean, after all, Callahan family history is just one tiny piece of the puzzle. In order to see the full picture, I had to first grasp the complex history of the country itself.
Now there's a rainbow right there. And you probably want me to state the obvious, but the obvious Irish punchline there is exactly the problem. There's so much more to this beautiful history than leprechauns, rainbows, Guinness, and Conor McGregor. Allow me to introduce you guys to the wild and magical world of Irish history. Lesson 1.
Colonization.
By the 12th century, in the late 1100s, the Brits come for the first time in the form of the Normans. The Normans are like French Vikings, but the first colonization, attempted colonization of Ireland from the outside happens around this fella called Gerald of Wales. He came to Ireland with King John, and he wanted to write a great piece of propaganda about Ireland to justify our colonization. He wrote a book called Topographia Hibernica in 1188, and what I can compare it to is, it's like fucking George Bush and Tony Blair when they wrote that bullshit weapons of mass destruction to justify the war in Iraq. To legitimise the colonization of Ireland, they had to portray us as savage, unchristian, but most importantly that our kingship rituals were fucked up. He wrote this mad story where he said, in order to become a king in Ireland, what happens is the prospective king is in a room and then a white horse is brought in. Then the king fucks the horse. Then he chops the horse up and throws the horse body pieces into this giant cauldron. And then the king climbs in to the cauldron of boiling horse pieces and fucks the mutilated pieces of horse. And then he starts to, all his friends come in and they all start eating horse water and fucking pieces of horse, right? Gerard of Wales made that up. That was his weapons of mass destruction. I love the book, even though it's a document of colonization. I adored the fantastic imagination he had. So from about 1100 onwards, the Normans come over and they're colonizers. But by about 200 years, you start to see a phrase, and the phrase is they became more Irish than the Irish. So, like, the first colonization didn't really work because the people who were supposed to be colonizers started speaking the Irish language, they started dressing the Irish way, they started to ride horses without saddles, riding the horses bareback, which was an Irish thing. They started to intermarry. And then you fast forward a few hundred years, Protestantism gets invented, and that's when things get really, really bad. So you have the Tudor conquest of Ireland, right? Fucking Queen Elizabeth, I think. And she was like, do it properly this time. Take over the whole fucking place. And that's when you start to see your scorched earth colonialism. That's where you start to see, we don't give a shit that you have Gaelic royalty. We don't care that there's a family called the O'Callahans and that they can trace their name to the land. We don't give a fuck about that. Are you Protestant or Catholic? And then Cromwell comes in, and Cromwell's like ISIS, and he was a religious extremist. And that's when colonization begins, really. So with Cromwell, you start to see genocide, colonization. Protestants get brought in from England and the lowlands of Scotland to literally colonize. So the old Irish Gaelic families like the O'Callahans, these were the people who funded art. So these were the people who would use their money to fund monasteries, to fund music, to fund cultural expression, to fund poetry. Cromwell comes in, that those families are gone, they don't have money anymore. So now what you lose is language, culture, a sense of identity, and you become a land of peasants that's there to be genocided. From 1690 onwards, these things come in called the penal laws. All the bad shit that Britain and its colonies did around the world, they kind of practiced on Ireland first. So if you were an Irish Catholic, which meant that you were effectively an indigenous Irish person, you couldn't own a sword, I think you couldn't own a horse, you couldn't access education, you couldn't vote, you couldn't own land over a certain size, you couldn't speak the Irish language. A systemic disenfranchisement of an entire people. So the law now is you can't exist. It was genocide. They didn't want us to just become like them. It's like, we want you to die and disappear so you can be replaced. 150 years of a population who don't speak their own language, can't access education, can't own property, that's what sets up then the famine.
I'm Gerald O'Brien, local historian, and we're in the Abbastroury Cemetery of Skibbereen, West Cork, Ireland. And back in the late 1840s, terrible famine struck here where we are. This was selected as the first site for a national famine memorial because of the level of casualties that were here in Skibbereen.
You have to fucking realise Ireland was 8 million people and then it became 4 million people, so there's dead everywhere, like, and there's villages that don't exist anymore and villages we've forgotten about, like, real fucking shit.
Now, to my right here, 8,000 to 10,000 victims have been interred. Simple plot, nicely mown, as you can see. It's a communal plot and it's easily identified because there are no other funeral markings on it.
What happened really is, the famine is a story of climate collapse that can teach us something. With the Cromwellian conquest, the land in Ireland is used for extraction. Crops that are grown are not to be sold to Irish people, but extracted and exported for profit. But then what happens, as the British Empire expands around the world, you have this new fucking vegetable comes in from South America, from Peru, called the potato. The potato isn't indigenous to the land, it's indigenous to Peru. So when we got the fucking potato, it just grew wonderfully in the ground. You had a huge return on this crop, and we eat potatoes morning, noon and night. So what happens is a monoculture emerges. The whole population becomes reliant on this one crop.
What was responsible for it was the dependence on one crop. They were all your eggs in one basket.
But when you have a monoculture of one particular plant that isn't indigenous to the country, when a disease comes in, such as the potato blight, it fucking kills everything. The potato blight most likely came in from bird shit. Fertilizer didn't really exist in the 1850s like it does now. Most fertilizer came from bird shit, and this bird shit was made in islands of guano off Panama, and the Brits were bringing bird shit in from Panama and bringing bird shit in from Peru, and this was fertilizer that people were using. But also, it probably brought in this disease called the potato blight. So you have a country that can't have access to carrots because they can't afford carrots, can't afford wheat, can't afford anything because the Brits are here exporting it. So all you have is this one crop, the potato, and now there's a disease that's killing all of it.
And when that went, it nothing.
So when that happens, you have a fucking famine. Everybody's dying.
The famine lasted between 4 to 6 years, and when it finally ended around 1852, Ireland had lost over 1 million people to starvation and disease. The economy was also decimated, in part due to the fact that another 1 million people left the country for good, immigrating to places like the US, England, Mexico, and Barbados. In total, Ireland lost 1/4 of its population, and while technically still part of the UK, resentment was only growing after the famine, and calls for independence became louder every day. While there were some people who wanted home rule, a kind of self-governance while still staying in the UK, others wanted complete independence, or a free Irish republic. Then boom, World War I begins in 1914, with Britain devoting the majority of its military resources to fighting powers abroad. During this window, Irish Republicans took advantage of their perceived exhaustion and launched an armed insurrection in Dublin, which became known as the Easter Rising. Although these efforts were quickly crushed by the British, who executed the rebellion's 16 leaders in public, the Easter Rising laid the groundwork for the Irish War of Independence about 3 years later, which, spoiler alert, they kind of won. Let me explain. On the Irish side, you had the Irish Republican Army, or the IRA, versus the British forces, each trying to gain full control of the island. After a series of wins and losses on both sides, an Anglo-Irish treaty was reached, and Ireland was split into 2 parts. The South became the Irish Free State, while the 6 counties up north remained part of the United Kingdom and became known as Northern Ireland. Now, remember everything that we learned about how during colonization, indigenous Irish Catholics were stripped of their land, status, and livelihoods by a class of British Protestants who benefited from things like the penal laws. Those same class divisions continued to persist in the north, leading to extreme tensions in cities like Derry and Belfast, and ultimately steamrolling into a bloody 30-year conflict called the Troubles. We'll get more into that later. Regardless of where you stand on the conflict, the Troubles were objectively a horrible thing for Ireland, but they did lead to the Good Friday Agreement of 1998, which led to an effective ceasefire that's been upheld to this day. Make no mistake though, there is still occasional IRA activity in the north, and when you walk through West Belfast, it's definitely something you can feel. The history is simply too deep to ignore. So in summary, it's safe to say that Ireland has had a few bad centuries. Between colonization, the famine, the penal laws, the Troubles, and the overarching theme of British-led genocide, it's been rough. And it made me wonder how the Irish have coped with this generational trauma. And I guess more specifically, what kind of impact these hardships have had on the survival of their native language.
A famous Irishman, Oscar Wilde, he made the point that when 2 cultures collide, it is the lesser one which will prevail.
Which parts of Ireland currently have the highest concentration of native first language Irish speakers?
Oh God, I'd say it'd be the Gaeltacht. You can go to villages there, communities, and as well on the Aran Islands, quite isolated western places where people speak the Irish language, that is their first language.
To learn more about these Gaeltacht areas, we met up with a native singer and TV presenter nearby.
My name is Derny Lachon. We're here in the Musgree Gaeltacht in West Cork in a place called Coolay. And the Gaeltacht area is like there's small pockets around Ireland where the day-to-day language is still the indigenous native language of Ireland, which is Gaeilge.
What was the traditional stereotype that was associated with speaking the Irish language? Was it like kind of working class, poor?
Yeah, I came from quite a middle class area in Dublin, and I think it was just like, you're a fucking weirdo. Why are you doing it? It's so redundant. To be an Irish speaker was very uncool, very kind of faux pas. really for the first 22, 23 years of my life, that would have been something I would have tried to hide. Even my name is Kneecap, like that is a statement in itself. I think within Gaeltacht regions there's different dynamics because some families are very invested in it and are really committed to bring it on to the next generation, because unlike any other small town, you have a really defining character and everybody's really working together to try and preserve something. But I think that by and large it's a huge effort by the people. I mean, they've been totally ignored by the state in terms of investment. There's been no long-term plan for the government to try and help preserve a really living, breathing artefact. Like you see all these tourists come and they come to Newgrange and they go to the Cliffs of Moher and they want to have a taste of like old Ireland, but we actually have a living, breathing organism here that very few people get to see, where kids are going to school every morning and they're speaking in Irish and they're learning songs that go back hundreds of years and stories, and it's just been totally ignored by the government. So until Fáilte Ireland or some tourism organisation gets behind it and sees the value, it's very hard to see a road out of this for us, you know.
But learning the Irish language in school here, in the old country, has become much more full-on than it was just a decade ago. Back when most students took Irish as just a class where you conjugated boring verbs on the board and learned on a very surface level how to speak the language, which many say was quite dull and didn't actually make them fluent. Similar to how high school Spanish was taught here in the States, where people learned basic words and phrases but not the complete language in a social way.
The school subject is taught as an academic subject, not as a language, so it's terrible.
I had to learn the Irish language in school. Well, I was also autistic, so school was fucking difficult, you know what I mean? So I learned fuck all. I didn't learn anything.
But now, for parents in Ireland, there's a new option on where to send their kids to get a complete Irish language education. And those places are called Gael schools, full immersion academies.
There's a saying in Irish and it says, Tír gan tanga, tír gan anam. The country without a language is a country without a soul. In Ireland, there are approximately 250 primary schools and they would be serving approximately 40,000 children. But I would say in around 10% of the population of the children will be attending an all-Irish school.
Willis again dana, ina eganam, Kele vi a gucht an Erin, Kele vi an hachtach an Erin eganam, ach ni ach igen dinne shag a sasnach an kind fin gunra. So I suppose with immersion, when they come in, they're learning everything through song and through story, so they're actually not aware that they're learning. There might be half English, half Irish at the beginning, or even more English than Irish, but unbeknownst to themselves, they're picking up a language in a fun way. But by the end of their first year here, they absolutely understand the language and everything that we say. Then after a few years, they're fluent. So today's class, we've been studying a poem about blackberry picking. So one of their assignments was to go out and pick blackberries as part of their homework. And then we had a recipe, and they were following a recipe for a blackberry and apple crumble. Okay. Cé jabí nela nish, denk sib leis an láva agus an plúr agus an siúcra vasca leis. An bhfuil láva gach na nite?
What made your parents want to sign you up for an all-Irish school?
Well, I suppose they like Irish and they like the language. I suppose it gives the country like an identity, and other countries mightn't have that. And the Irish language has loads of their own sports and music, so a lot comes with it.
And you and your friends, you guys speak Irish and English, right?
Yes. When we're in school, it's all Irish. But if we were just outside at a pitch playing, it would be English.
But you guys could technically slip into Irish if you wanted to.
Easily, yes. Ceap mé go dúirtú bhí sé duine a bhí ar a thaobh a cogan na saoirse sin cad a ceap mé.
And do your parents speak Irish?
They do, but not very fluently. Like, they didn't go to Gael schools.
So just curious, what sport are you guys playing?
We're playing hurling, basically. Would I show you an example?
Oh, totally. So it's kind of like a modified version of a mixture of baseball and wall ball?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
How popular is this sport in Ireland?
It's pretty popular, like almost every county plays it, so it's a pretty good sport, like I'd recommend it.
What made you want to go to an Irish school?
It's pretty nice to know another language. Some of it is hard and some of it is easy, like there's some words that could be very random and you don't really know, and it could be actually backwards and for Irish than English.
There's loads of different grammars, endings and everything, and plurals aren't as simple as say English, you don't just add an S, it's all a bit more complicated.
If in English, if I said monkey bar, the plural would be monkey bars.
Yeah.
You're saying in Irish it would have to be a dramatic restructuring.
Yes.
How would you say monkey bars in Irish?
Baraha, munkaha. It's not really a direct translation because there's probably some sort of climbing way of saying it. Like the climbing bars or the swing bars.
Is that because there was no monkeys in Ireland?
Yeah, and monkey bars are a new thing.
Do you see, like, in your lifetime, the Irish language kind of growing and like retaking English?
I suppose, yeah, but we'd have to put more schools up in different counties, you know, in different places to learn more Irish. I think we need a bit more Irish.
Loads of people now want to get Irish going big again, like they want to get it back to the stage where nearly everyone in the country would be able to have a basic conversation in Irish.
Do you think that could happen?
Yes, but it would need a lot of more backing and everything from everyone and more Gael schools because it's hard if you're an adult to learn Irish. It would be easier as a child.
Do you think there's any hope for me as a 28-year-old English-speaking male to be able to learn fluent Irish?
Yes, but you'd have to try very hard. Like, you really need to stick with it. In Ireland, you'd have like a pop-up Gaeltacht, which would be maybe the first Monday of every month in a certain coffee shop. You'd have people who want to learn Irish, maybe aren't that fluent, but they'd be talking all in Irish and everything in Irish.
So just a couple of us are meeting for a cup of coffee and a bit of tea, but I suppose the mildly unusual thing is we're talking predominantly through Irish. So everybody speaks it to different levels of proficiency. Some people are pretty fluent and some people speak it very much as like a second language, you know? Or ní raibh well now. So chuig maybe the couple of wrong in it, but ní raibh sé anna bha dumsa.
It's pretty cool that you're doing this like social learning thing. You find that's a better environment than maybe Duolingo or taking an official class?
It depends on the learner. So like some people are visual learners, some are oral, some are tactile. I'd be more of an oral, tactile learner where I have to use it. So the social thing works for me. So it kind of depends on the person, but I think because it's a language, the only way to learn it is speaking it in a relaxed setting where you've someone who's slightly better than you that can kind of help you out, and then sometimes someone who's slightly worse than you, and then as you try and explain something to them you realise actually I didn't fully understand that. So for me I think it's much better, but it depends on the person really.
It's been great fun. I've been meeting fun people who are relaxed and easy to talk to, and everybody's really friendly, and there's a lot of people around in Cork who I can speak Irish with, so I'm not short of any opportunities to do it. Whereas I think if I'd tried to do it 20 years ago, that would have been a bit harder. There was a generation, or maybe two generations, that did have to learn Irish in school, and they had really good teachers, but the attitude to the language was very negative for a lot of reasons, political reasons and historical reasons. But I think the younger generation doesn't have that in the same way. At least a lot of them don't. And so there's a lot of fun and energy there.
Still in the core kind of issues, when you ask Irish people why can't they speak Irish, the number one excuses they'll always give is something like, oh, it's the way it's taught in school.
School? I was terrible in Irish in school. If you interview people who don't speak Irish in the street, they'll say they don't like Irish. What they mean is they don't like the school subject Irish, you know, it's just a school subject.
It was all about the written word, it was all about reading it, writing it, and having the correct written word, if you know what I mean. And that's what turned people off it, because Irish as a written language is quite difficult.
Before writing in Ireland, we had a huge oral culture. We had massive stories. We got writing in the 5th century from St. Patrick. People are always saying, oh, St. Patrick was great. He brought Christianity to Ireland. He did bring Christianity, but most importantly, what St. Patrick did, he brought this technology of writing, and that changed fucking Ireland. Imagine encountering writing, having never seen it before. It's magic. The other thing that we did in Ireland, we invented spaces between words, which people don't know. Before Ireland intervened, writing was like a very complicated text from your mother. There was no spaces, it was hard to understand. But we introduced spaces between words, and what it did is it brought song and literature to the page. Now you can use writing as a piece of art. I still don't know how that answered your fucking question. Your question was about learning Irish in school.
And what are the biggest challenges right now facing the advancement of the language?
Well, lack of housing. In the Gaeltacht and Irish-speaking areas, there's a big issue with lack of housing.
From a housing perspective, it just so happens that the southwestern Gaeltacht areas, where most Indigenous Irish language speakers reside, is some of the most beautiful land you've ever seen. And what does beautiful land mean? Tourism.
Just Airbnbs like dominating the market, which is making it very, very difficult for people who want to live in the Gaeltacht and speak Irish every day to buy land and build houses and things like that.
It's very difficult for young people to try and forge a life for themselves here, because I suppose Gaeltacht areas tend to be very out of the way areas. It's a wide housing crisis all over Ireland, of course, and everybody deserves a home and a house, but I do think that we should look at areas like Gaeltacht regions and prioritise people who are going to prioritise the language, because if we don't protect that, it's just going to fall apart.
Because of the housing/affordability crisis, as well as the lack of jobs in these remote regions, many Gaeltacht natives are forced to move to the bigger cities, like Cork or Dublin.
They have to move to the cities, so even though they're fluent Irish speakers, they're not in a community where they're speaking Irish together all the time. That's still a problem. You can have all the jobs in the world available, but until children are growing up in Irish-speaking communities, it's really hard to maintain the language at a really high level. So that's a huge issue. I think for the long-term prospects of the language, huge energy, excitement around the language at the minute. The real issue is, do people speak the language to their children?
In my parents' day, people might have thought like, oh, Irish is nice, but it's kind of useless and you'll never get a job and all this kind of stuff. But now, like, more and more younger people especially are starting to realise it's something we should be proud of, and like, there's over 7,000 languages spoken in the world and Irish is the only one that belongs to us.
Historically, endangered languages have been kept alive through Indigenous artwork, music, and literature.
You look at our literary tradition, whether it be Sadie Rooney or fucking James Joyce. For a small country, we really punch above our weight when it comes to literature.
And in the case of Irish literature, one genre in particular has helped keep the language alive for centuries: poetry.
Níl scoil gum a hilla.
Christa Pigo West a good hen.
Gwydok shin fiw.
Christa Shannon LNG.
Níl scoil gum a hilla. Gwydok shin few.
So for you, what's the importance of keeping this language alive?
Well, people haven't forgotten their language. They're still speaking it. They haven't given up. People have worked tirelessly to have the language acknowledged and respected at the very least.
Irish is having like a big moment at the moment. In the arts, Irish is thriving at the moment, and it's fantastic to see.
There's a resurgence within the arts, I think, with Irish. We've Irish language hip hop.
At the moment, rap has a certain rhythm in it, but that's the last stage before complete disintegration.
Nimmer can stop, nimmer can stop. In can several like pork or buck, like bemi for salsa egg knock or hucked. Tama egg brought go show goes crack. Tama egg chogan can nasa go rash. Fecker and calling new sod and max like tog a bug him or Neil said Ross. Quarter loss who's like a zabo de shot. Nimmer can stop, nimmer can stop. Nimmer can stop, nimmer can stop. My in can several like pork or buck.
Hell yeah, thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
When talking about the revival of the Irish language, most of the people that we spoke to pointed in the direction of a popular Irish rap group, Kneecap. To recap, Kneecap is an Irish rap trio from Belfast in the north who rap in a mixture of English and Irish. But when it comes to being put on trial for terrorism by the UK, they demand an Irish translator. The group has 3 members, Makara, Mogali, and DJ Proby. Since the release of their first single, Serta, in 2017, the group has been on a meteoric rise. And after the release of their semi-true biographical movie that depicts a trio of rebellious misfits from Belfast who break through in the music industry all while rapping in Irish and occasionally having a dose of ketamine, Kneecap went from locally famous to internationally known, even performing at Coachella in 2025. But they didn't just perform at Coachella, they interrupted it. During their set, they displayed messages about the ongoing genocide of indigenous Palestinians by the recently created and illegally settled State of Israel, who've engineered a nightmare situation for everyone involved, including their own people. What happened next is a story as old as time. Even though Kneecap's messaging was directed at a foreign government who were doing some things that any rational person would think are insane, the display was quickly labeled as anti-Semitic, one of the flagship gaslighting tropes of our time. Still, Kneecap kept going in their live performances, pressing the issue continuously. As I mentioned for a bit earlier, some of these comments led to an actual terrorism charge being leveraged against Makara by the British government.
A member of the Irish language rap group Kneecap facing a charge of terrorism.
But he beat that case, so we're not going to talk about it too much.
Better luck next time.
What I do want to talk about real quick, though, is free speech in the UK, which by all measures is under attack. As we speak, in the United Kingdom, it is currently illegal to hold a sign in public reading 2 words, Palestine Action, without being arrested and taken to jail by police. Still, some people are doing it anyway. Here's a glimpse of that coverage.
This is my girlfriend, Rebecca. She decided to come here today, handcuffed to me, and put this sign, which is, clearly in support of a terrorist organization.
No! It's the mannequin! She's the terrorist! I'm innocent! She has a mind of her own!
Do you have anything you want to say to the people as you get dragged out?
Free Palestine.
Tell my wife I love her. We want you to do the right thing.
Shame on this government. This government is being dictated by the Zionist lobby. It's at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's honestly pretty crazy. But back to Kneecap. The connection between Palestinians and Irish Republicans of the North is not something that spawned out of solidarity or trendiness after October 7th. Ireland and Palestine were occupied by the Brits at the exact same time. And many of the British soldiers who fought against Ireland during their War of Independence in 1921 were dispatched directly from British-occupied Palestine, so the shared struggle for autonomy between these two groups has been interwoven for over a century, probably reaching its peak in the mid-1970s when the IRA and PLO set up a joint training camp in Libya. Anyway, Kneecap was down to link up with the kid, so I drove from County Cork past the invisible wall that marks entry into UK territory all the way to Belfast, where I found the lads at a pub in the western part of town.
So how did you guys all meet?
Grindr.
Grindr?
Yeah.
Grindr, yeah. Congratulations.
Grindr for Irish speakers, yeah.
I didn't know you could meet two people on Grindr at the same time.
If they have two phones open. We started like an Irish language kind of like festival. So it was like book launches and art installations. And then at night time we'd all get together and we'd have a party and listen to music. So that's how I came to know Mowgli. We kind of worked on it together, and Provy used to sing songs on the guitar in Irish that he would translate. He headlined every night for 4 years.
And we went down and we were like, we should get a band together.
It's impossible not to bump into Irish speakers in Belfast, basically.
How many people do you guys think speak Irish today?
The last census says, 80,000 a day? 80,000 daily speakers, right?
No, daily speakers is about 150, and then native speakers is about 60 to 80. So.
I didn't think, I thought it was less.
I suppose on the census they don't do like a language test, so like people could be writing down that they have Irish and only know 2 or 3 sentences.
Also, it's just, we're like, it's the language we speak, it's obviously something we're interested in as well, but we're by no means the fucking intellects on this stuff. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We just make music in the language that we love and like where we're from, and we see the cultural significance and importance to do this stuff.
There's a real hunger to preserve it because it's uniquely ours. It's a language that doesn't have a Latin root. Like Kneecap are doing brilliantly in terms of making it popular.
Groups like Kneecap, rapping in Irish, have done great to boost the popularity in the language.
They're fucking rock and roll, aren't they? I think they're destigmatizing a lot of things.
I mean, the Irish language has always been cool. I don't want to say the Irish language has never been cool, but they've really made it mainstream cool.
I think they're a voice for a generation of people that really feel like they're not very served in mainstream media.
Of course it helps when you have groups like Kneecap emerging and causing a bit of excitement and making people see that the opportunities aren't just there for unusual individuals who like nobody to understand them, but that there's things you can do with Irish.
I think maybe that's why people are buying into the whole Irish language revival thing, because it's like, I don't know if there's a future for me in this town, but what I actually can buy into is my language and my heritage, and it makes me feel like I'm part of this country. So I really think that's why Kneecap's message is resonating with young people, because it's maybe the only way to have a tangible stake in Ireland is to buy into this.
How do you think that your guys' success has helped potentially grow the Irish language and help revive it?
We possibly get too much credit for that.
Is Mishakara August Hostameg Folam Gaelig Margaller Kneecap. When I first started listening to Kneecap, it was so nice to know that there was other people out there who felt so strongly about the Irish language and who felt the same way that I did. I'm so proud that I can speak Irish. I mean, it's the thing that I value most about myself.
I think, obviously, I'm sure it's had an effect on young people. I think there's definitely been a growth of young people I see speaking Irish, like people I would have went to school with who would have only spoke English to me would now maybe start the conversation in Irish. But if you're going to gas us up, we'll take it every now and again.
It's not just about the Irish language, it's about like revival of language and culture in general. So I think the movie definitely made what we were doing, like it gave it an international understanding that like Native Americans,
Mexicans,
all these people who come up to us and be like, you've made me want to learn my own language. When they watched our film, they didn't see just the Irish language, they seen their own relationship with their own language and their own culture. So I think that really opened us up to this whole new world of people who want to reconnect with their own selves, kind of reigniting this flame of like pride and language and culture. That's why I think like the language for us is connected, because it's part of the decolonization process, regaining our value in ourselves. And I think that's the hangover of colonization, is people don't see a value in their own culture, their own language. So we kind of got that ethos and brought it into our music, and like brought it into what Kneecap is a celebration of existence, because the fact that we still exist after such a long time of colonization is a celebration. I hope that people take inspiration from that celebration to celebrate what we still have.
I think it's important as well that people in the Gaeltacht areas take some of that as well, because even though the language was kept alive for thousands of years there, it's kind of withering a bit. I think that's a bit of a problem. So for the young people watching, I think it's important that you need to kind of reclaim it and be proud of it. One of the other big blocks as well is that the fact that the government in the north here, they always kind of like party politics, the same as it is in America. They can't agree on where the funding is going to go. You know, so like people think if you're funding the education system, then you're taking away from the funding like the health system, and if you're giving money to the Irish language, then it's taken away from some other part of the society, which is ridiculous. So having a government that's sitting that aren't agreeing with each other just doesn't work. So I think that's one of the reasons we're moving towards getting a united Ireland, because it'll give people a better chance to learn the language and give them a better starting point as well.
We're not trying to create this patriotic nationalism where it's like nobody's allowed in. I just feel like the English government has never served the people of Ireland. They don't even serve their own people in England. Why would they ever care about Ireland? And history proves that they don't. It's time for an alternative, and that alternative is United Ireland, where everyone's welcome, and you know that it's for the people and not for the few.
In our opinion, is that things will be a lot better if everyone in the island has control over the island instead of having people outside of the island controlling it.
And the other thing that was true of this island, and still is, it had never one central government or central High King. And to this day, we have two governments on the island.
We want to dictate our own affairs and not have to answer to some person who went to a private school in London, who makes laws about where I'm from, who has never stepped foot in this place. I don't care where you're from. The thing is, United Ireland is for everyone. Every culture should be celebrated.
Unless you're from Nazi Germany.
Except that one.
Except that one.
But any other culture is more than welcome in United Ireland. I don't see why the fuck not.
Except for Israeli culture. Zionist culture.
Yeah, Zionist, yeah.
Zionist culture.
You saved that at the last minute, but it's time to do the right thing. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
We tried rugby, we tried cricket.
We tried rugby, tried cricket.
It doesn't work.
It sounds like what you guys are saying is the language revival is kind of part and parcel of the idea of United Ireland.
Yeah, because I think without knowing your language and knowing the history of the language, it's a language that like, kind of grounds you into where you're from, because like it's through the language that you know who your people were and where you came from, and it just gives you that connection to your land and your heritage. And I think a reason why a lot of people are so filled with anxiety is because they don't know who they are.
Also, things are fucking shit now. Why not try something different? Like we've tried out being governed by London, and it hasn't worked. It's never worked.
British rule's bad, obviously.
Yeah, not good. Famously not great.
But half the country, or maybe a third of the country, is still under British occupation.
Yeah. And that's a real big question that's being brought up time and time again. What is in store for the future of Ireland? Especially when you're talking about Irish language stuff, you can get really bogged down in a lot of idealism and romanticism. But practically, no one wants to live in a country that someone feels like that it's hostile towards them.
So you think that United Ireland's a good idea?
Oh, I do think, yeah, absolutely. I would love to live to see United Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen, and my daughter is 18. She'll see it in her generation, and hopefully I'll see it. And it has to be done in a respectful way, you know. I mean, it's a mess up there.
It will come someday. I don't know when. Whether it will be in my lifetime or not, I don't know. We'll get there eventually.
100 to 200 years will be very soon, I'd say. I don't know. It's speculation.
So you guys grew up in a pretty unique generation, because not only are you guys the first generation to learn Irish in school, but you're also from what's called like the ceasefire generation, because you guys pretty much grew up after the Good Friday Agreement. Yeah. So like all of the violence from the Troubles had subsided, but you're still left with this like strong legacy of wanting a united Ireland.
Yeah.
Also, like I think a really dirty thing to be to a certain extent is Republican.
For in context, a Republican in Ireland is a lot different from a Republican in America. You know, it just means that they don't want a monarchy, a king or queen ruling over the country.
We've kind of been taught that we should hate that side of ourselves, that we shouldn't want, autonomy for ourselves, that we shouldn't want a united Ireland. And so you have all these problematic views relating to republicanism and also violence that are really frowned upon in the Free State.
So it's kind of like people might think you're like some sort of IRA sympathizer.
Totally, yeah.
On the streets of Belfast, the topic of a united Ireland is both constant and almost universally leading to a conversation about the IRA. Yet, before we talk about the raw, it's important to understand that there are actually two different IRAs. The original OG Irish Republican Army is who fought against the Brits during the War of Independence back in the day. Those guys are universally seen as being heroes by all proud Irish people. Then you have the second, much more controversial IRA called the Provisional IRA, which began in 1969 with the sole purpose of getting the Brits out of the North. They reject, of course, the authority of the UK, who call them a terrorist organization, but they also don't recognize the authority of the Irish Republic, who've dubbed them an unlawful organization, which is like one step down. And to be fair, unlawful the Provisional IRA was. They are/were a paramilitary armed group allied with Gaddafi, Basque separatists in Spain, the PLO, and the FARC in Colombia. For that reason, they're not viewed with a particularly charitable lens by people, especially in the South. But people in the South, or as they call them, Free Staters, also don't speak too candidly about the IRA in the first place. They themselves are free from British occupation.
Now again, I'm from the South, so I'm from Limerick, so I never lived any of this. I saw this on television.
They weren't particularly involved in the deadly, nearly 30-year conflict that we mentioned earlier, the Troubles.
It was terrible. It was on for 30 years.
It is said that the Troubles, which were fought primarily between the Provisional IRA and British security forces who were assisted by Loyalist paramilitary groups like the UVF and UDA, were responsible for around 1,800 deaths, and most famously, bombings. You may be thinking to yourself at this point, that's probably where they got the name for the popular drink that us Americans call an Irish car bomb, right? The answer there is yes. But pro tip, do not order that drink in Belfast. It's almost like going into a bar in New York City and asking for a 911, which I guess would be a shot of Fireball in a Steel Reserve can. But anyways, although there were several violent attacks from both sides during the Troubles, one particular instance really sticks out from the rest, and that would be Bloody Sunday.
A big turning point was Bloody Sunday, and Bloody Sunday was, like I said, you've got the system of sectarianism in the north of Ireland. It was a form of racism. Irish Catholic people didn't have civil rights.
If you go back to 1968 and 1969, there was a civil rights movement happening in America, and it was happening on the streets of Belfast and Derry as well.
In Derry, people marched for their civil rights peacefully. They were looking at what was happening with Martin Luther King and going, maybe we can do that.
And then it was broadcast all around the world that these people were being beaten off the streets by the army and the soldiers, and there was no police service there to defend the people, so they had to defend themselves.
So they did their peaceful protest, and then the fucking British Army, they opened fire with live bullets, and they shot 26 people, killing 14, I believe. Innocent civilians marching for civil rights. And that's the type of shit that made people join the IRA. It put people in an environment where now you're not safe in your own community and you must defend yourself.
So it all kind of grew out of a necessity, really.
Every time I see somebody interview you, they're always like kind of moralizing to you about the IRA.
People would look at this and they would assume, all right, these kids are like young IRA sympathizers. Is that true?
Well, geez, it depends on the situation.
Back to front.
The thing is, again, it's like we're in no position because we never grew up at that time, so we're in no position to really be like condemn or condoning this. It was a time that we weren't there. Or I don't know, what led people to do certain things. All I do know is, and this is not even my opinion, this is just fact, for as long as there's oppression, there will be resistance. Yeah. And that is proven all around the world. So obviously it was no different in Ireland.
I think it's an interesting question because no one asks, do they condemn the violence against the Black Panthers, for example? Like, do you condemn that violence the American government did against Fred Hampton and all? It's always a question for the people who don't have power when they resist. It's like, do you condemn or condone them? But it's never the questions for the powers to be, and like, it's interesting who's asking the question.
But all the people that we knew who were a part of that, they were just like normal people, like friends and family of ours, and people from the community who just had to do it because nobody else was going to defend them.
It's one of those ones, and obviously I think we kind of talked about it off camera as well, that a lot of journalists come here and they want to just focus on like, the poverty porn of like Catholics and Protestants and like violence and all this stuff, when like these people are salt of the earth. This is where we grew up, like this is our community, and these are the nicest people that you could ever hope to meet.
And do you guys feel like is it still around today?
Right, what, political violence or
IRA?
All right. You'll never know. They're not in this pub.
Wink, wink.
All right, little switch up here. We're in a British town. See the Union Jack there? You know what that means. We are in Antrim, about 35 miles west of Belfast. It's a very Loyalist Protestant zone, and today they're doing a big-ass march. I'm pretty excited. I'm actually not very excited, I'm not gonna lie. They don't have the most festive atmosphere out here, but I'm journalistically stimulated. England. Hey, how's it going, man? What do you think about the situation going on in the country?
Pretty grim at the moment. Immigrants are coming in. They're coming in and they're robbing, stealing, robbing. Just have to watch out for them. They deserve to get put back where they came from.
Do you see yourself as more Irish or British?
British.
British, definitely British.
Do you consider yourself to be more British or Irish?
Oh, British. Well, I'm across the border. I'm in a part of Britain, so I'm British, yeah. So I'm British, huh?
I don't feel Irish. Guys fought for the British Army over here. They bled and died over at the Somme. All my thoughts are up here.
What are some of the benefits of being part of the UK?
Benefits, that's...
NHS, don't have to pay anything. Free prescriptions, free everything. For you guys who know yourselves, you need health insurance from the States. We don't need that.
Money and stuff and whatnot for ones that's unemployed and stuff.
Other things as well, you know, but that's mainly...
That's just basically it.
What's the most British thing about you?
Like pints, mate.
Yeah.
Just like pints, that's what the crack is, like, you know what I mean?
The most British thing, the money in my pocket.
So are you a Protestant?
Yep, I'm indeed.
How is a Protestant and a Catholic different? How is a Protestant and a Catholic different?
I don't know. Well, I don't know, like, Protestantism was brilliant.
What's the main difference between Protestants and Catholics?
Oh, there's a big difference. That's a big hole you're going to go down there, like, you know what I mean?
Protestantism, you're saved by grace and grace alone. But Catholicism, you can go to purgatory, you worship idols, all the rest of it.
Do you guys recognize the Pope or the Vatican?
No.
How come?
He's the Antichrist, we believe.
We have only one mediator between God and man, Lord Jesus Christ.
What do you think about people who are trying to get funding to revive the Irish language?
Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all.
No problem at all. It's a thing that needs to be saved. No problem with that whatsoever.
How come you think it needs to be saved?
That was nearly dead years ago, about 100 years ago, when it was the Presbyterian ministers that brought it out, or else it probably would have been gone by now. But no, I have no problem with it.
What do you think about the idea of a united Ireland?
Well, eventually, I would say it probably will eventually happen somewhere down the line, but not within the next 20 odd years anyway. There's a majority of the Irish ones that don't even want to unite or not.
If they want to unify Ireland, that's up to them. You know, I can't stop them from doing that. But they have a legitimate right for that if they want, but I have a legitimate right to stay British.
The English want it and the Irish want it. So it's kind of even. Like there's English and Irish up there.
Yeah.
So we kind of share it, kind of.
The ones down at Dublin keep forgetting that half of their architecture and stuff came from England. At the end of the day, you just have to let us get on with it and we let them get on with it.
What do you think about the idea of Irish unification?
No.
Do you guys think the language will survive?
Yeah, definitely.
You think it'll grow?
It'll definitely grow. Both.
Hopefully. I mean, you don't want any false hope either.
So how can somebody learn Irish right now?
Duolingo.
Duolingo's a start.
A Duolingo is a good gateway drug.
Cudgy Duolingo lumsa Gaeliga fulham.
My wife is learning Irish through Duolingo and she likes to be able to see it written down. So for her, she's finding that very useful.
There's lots of online resources as well, you know, and then YouTube videos and
summer courses.
So if someone's watching this, like Irish American in Police Academy in Boston, he could learn.
Leave the fucking police academy though. Yeah, what would a guy in police academy need Irish for? Just teach him how to beat minorities in Irish.
The Irish language belongs to us all. Now is the time to get involved, and there is more stuff happening now than there ever was before. I know it can be very daunting, but it is a very, very welcoming community. Go to a pop-up Gaeltacht, go to a Circle Cointa, have a pint, use whatever few words of Irish you have. Bí bro dúlas de chun Gaeilge.
Needless to say, I left Ireland full of pride and oozing with ancestral self-discovery. Everybody I met out there was cool as shit, and approaching a foreign culture through the lens of language revival seemed to be the perfect fit for the kind of things I like to get into. It made me wonder about other endangered languages back in the States. Is there evidence of a successful linguistic revival movement in North America? Through basic research, I learned that there was many such examples, and decided to begin covering as many of them as I could. Beginning first with the Nahuatl language, originally spoken by the Aztecs of Mesoamerica. Currently spoken by less than 1% of the Mexican population, the story of Nahuatl's decline and recent revival matched that of the Irish language almost exactly. Here's a preview of that coverage.
Hola chicos, mi nombre es Andrés. Hola. Para la gente que no sabe, ¿qué es la lengua náhuatl?
Es el idioma más hablado en México. Es algo muy arraigado y pues parte de nuestra cultura y nuestra tradición.
Si te puedes presentar en náhuatl.
Nesnimonota Teresa Concepción de la Cruz Lozano,
¿Y te imaginas en el futuro más escuelas como esta?
Sí, aquí la mayor parte de la población, su lengua materna es el náhuatl, entonces se constituye como una escuela bilingüe. Por ello, sí hay muchos retos, pero creo que es sumamente importante pues continuar manteniendo el idioma.
If you'd like to see our new episode on the Nahuatl language, I have great news. It is live right now on our Spanish language channel, Canal 5, which is the home for all of our original content shot in Latin America. We recently passed 100,000 subscribers, which is exciting. So if you want to see the episode and show us some love, I'll put the channel link in the description box and pinned comment of this video. Have a great day.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. And 5 is the best number.